Imagine being locked in a cold and unforgiving prison cell. The iron bars are unyielding, the walls are thick, and you have only your will and wits to escape. So how would you escape? For many of us, this would be an impossible situation to be in. But for one man, it was an everyday occurrence. Today, we'll embark on a journey through the life of a man who was no stranger to escaping the seemingly inescapable. The legendary Harry Houdini, master illusionist, escape artist, and magician. From escaping death-defying stunts to revealing the tricks of fraudulent spiritualists to his mysterious death in 1926. Houdini's life was a constant battle against the chains of the ordinary. Houdini was born Erich Weiss on March 24, 1874, in Budapest, Hungary. His family immigrated to America when Erich was about 4 years old, settling down in Wisconsin. At the age of 8, he developed an interest in athletics and acrobatics. He performed circus feats in his backyard and called himself Erich, Prince of the Air. At age 12, with his family facing extreme poverty, he ran away from home. Very little is known about his time away, but he later joined his family at their new home in New York City at the age of 15. Here he became enthralled with magic after reading the biography of a famous French magician named Jean-Robert Houdin. The book changed his life, and in honor of his hero, he took the stage name Harry Houdini and began performing magic. He performed solo for a while, and then, in 1892, he teamed up with his brother Theo. As the Houdini brothers, the duo performed at venues such as Coney Island and the 1893 Chicago World Fair. In 1894, while at Coney Island, Harry met a showgirl named Wilhelmine Reynard, aka Bess. The two hit it off, and after only 3 weeks, Harry and Bess were married. I guess he was a magician with the ladies too. However, this matrimony was anything but magical to Bess's strict Catholic mother, who refused to speak to her daughter or her new son-in-law, who she thought was the devil himself. But that didn't stop the young couple, as Bess replaced Theo in Houdini's act, which was then simply renamed the Houdinis. Houdini's early career was a struggle, performing in dime museums and sideshows, often in less than glamorous conditions, including a particularly strange circus sideshow called Proja, the Wild Man of Mexico, where Harry's sleight of hand made it appear as if he ate cigarettes thrown into his cage. Definitely a strange act. I don't know if I'd want to watch somebody eat cigarettes, but a gig's a gig. Despite being skilled at magic, card tricks, and escape artistry, widespread fame eluded him, so much so that he even tried to sell his entire show in 1898. There were no buyers, and Harry's career looked dead in the water. That is, until 1899, when Harry took the advice of renowned booking agent Martin Beck, who encouraged him to eschew the small stuff and concentrate on illusions and escapes. Beck, now Houdini's manager, put him on the vaudeville circuit, which took him around the country. To generate publicity in each town he visited, Houdini would ask the local police to lock him in their sturdiest cell, from which he would promptly escape, garnering him more and more attention. Following this successful run, Beck arranged for a European tour in 1900, and it was here that he really gained a reputation, by routinely escaping from the seemingly inescapable, and even besting a rival escape artist, Cernico, in a handcuff escape competition. Soon enough, he was the highest paid entertainer on the continent, raking in $2,000 a week, and breaking attendance records in every theater he played. Capitalizing on his success, he brought his brother and former partner Theo back into the fold to Europe, and set him up as a rival, which probably wasn't the hardest role for Theo to play, being that he had been previously replaced by Bess. Together, the brothers dominated the European vaudeville circuits. It was Theo, now known as Dash Hardin, who discovered the power of escaping from a straitjacket in full view of the audience. Houdini quickly adapted the technique and made it a signature of his performances. When Houdini returned to the States in 1905, he set out to prove himself that there was nothing which he could not escape from. One of his first establishing tricks stateside was escaping from the Murderers Row jail cell that once held the assassin Charles Gutierre, who assassinated President James A. Garfield. Not only did he escape, but he released all the prisoners and moved them into different cells. Houdini continued his American tour, escaping from handcuffs, straitjackets, locked trunks, and even an Iron Maiden, earning himself the moniker the King of Handcuffs. Houdini continued to push the envelope with one of his most well-known acts. First occurring in New York, the stunt involved him being placed into a box that was locked, nailed, roped, and weighted, and then finally plunged into the East River. Then moments later, Houdini would emerge, showing off his miraculous feat. His death-defying feats were often performed in public, with large crowds gathered to witness his astonishing acts of liberation. In 1908, Houdini introduced another new stunt of his own creation, the milk can escape. Advert posters warned that failure means drowning to death, Houdini would be locked inside an oversized galvanized milk can filled with water, where the audience was encouraged to hold their breath alongside Houdini before his shocking escape. The suspense was unbearable, and Houdini's dramatic flair only heightened the tension. With imitators quickly stealing the milk can escape from Houdini, he adapted the trick into the more sinister sounding and dangerous Chinese water torture cell in 1912, which became a staple of his act until his death. Houdini's act was so popular that other magicians during this time and since often tried to replicate his tricks with varying degrees of success. As recently as 2019, a man in India died in an attempt to replicate one of his underwater escapes, a real testament to the danger Houdini put himself in every time he performed. Perhaps Houdini's most bizarre escape ever occurred in September 1911, when a group of Boston businessmen challenged Houdini to attempt to escape from the belly of a 1,500-pound sea monster that had washed up in the city's harbor. Historians aren't sure exactly what this creature was. It's been described as everything from a whale to a large leatherback turtle, but Houdini was up to the task. Thousands of spectators looked on as he allowed himself to be handcuffed, shackled, and wedged inside the stinking carcass, which was then covered in chains and placed behind a curtain. Houdini then emerged like Jonah from the whale after 15 minutes, but later admitted that he was nearly suffocated by the fumes from the chemicals used to embalm the giant beast. A truly extraordinary escape. Houdini's stunts were literally death-defying. Once he came frighteningly close to suffocating while escaping from a buried coffin. In 1918, Houdini created a magic act that would become a staple of later magicians. He made a live elephant named Jenny disappear in the famed Hippodrome in New York City. He also introduced another fan favorite, the East Indian needle trick, in which he swallowed several needles in a piece of string, and then pulled the string from his throat with the needles perfectly threaded. He was constantly amazing audiences, but to Houdini, it was just another day on the job, saying, "My professional life has been a constant record of disillusion, and many things that seem wonderful to most men are the everyday commonplaces of my business." By 1917, Houdini was one of the most famous men on the planet, in part thanks to his embrace of the new medium of motion pictures, as he filmed many of his stunts and turned them into short movies, growing his fame by amazing audiences far and wide through the silver screen. Despite being born in Hungary, Houdini was an American patriot to the bone, to the point that he claimed to be from Wisconsin his whole life, and it wasn't until after his death that his European origins were made known to the public. So when the United States entered the First World War in 1917, he was a staunch supporter of the US involvement. He would go as far as having the Society of American Magicians sign loyalty oaths to the United States, and later canceled his regular touring season to devote himself to entertaining soldiers and raising money for the war effort. Houdini also drew on his arsenal of magic tricks to provide special instructions to American troops. In a series of classes held in New York, he instructed U.S. servicemen on how to escape sinking ships and free themselves from ropes, handcuffs, and other restraints in the event of capture by the Germans. If assisting in the war effort wasn't enough of a civic duty, Houdini was also a fierce skeptic and debunker of spiritualists and mediums. In the early 20th century, many people were fascinated by the supernatural, and fraudulent mediums preyed on the grieving and gullible. Houdini made it his mission to expose these charlatans, often attending seances in disguise and revealing their tricks to the public. His famed book, A Magician Among Spirits, detailed his crusade against the spiritualist movement. He even testified before a congressional committee on the subject in 1926. In a way, this was Houdini's way of giving back. He hated charlatans who preyed on grieving families. He would even go as far as offering a $10,000 reward to any psychic who could present a physical phenomena that could not be explained rationally, a reward that was never successfully claimed. But that didn't stop a number of these so-called spiritualists from mounting a total of $2 million worth of lawsuits against him, and directly threatening his life on a number of occasions, which some believe may have had to do with Houdini's eventual undoing. Houdini, on top of all this, also really loved airplanes and became fascinated with aviation in 1909, and is recognized as the first man to fly a plane in Australia on March 18, 1910. Ironically, Houdini believed that this would be the feat that he was most remembered. Clearly it didn't turn out that way, but still a neat fun fact. Houdini's relentless quest for the truth and his dedication to his craft took a toll on his health. His rigorous training and punishing stunts were physically demanding, and on October 22, 1926, while in Montreal, a college student unexpectedly punched Houdini in the stomach, attempting to test his claim that he could withstand any blow, a trick he performed many times. But the magician had not had time to prepare, and the punch ruptured his appendix. Houdini continued to perform despite the pain, but as his condition worsened, he was rushed to a hospital in Detroit, where he passed away on Halloween night, October 31st, 1926, at the age of 52. Others meanwhile allege that the great magician was poisoned by the so-called spiritualists, who, as previously mentioned, issued several death threats against him in response to his ability of outing them as charlatans and con artists. Houdini's funeral was held on November 4th, 1926, in New York. His death marked the end of an era, but his legacy lived on. Houdini's daring escapes and his unyielding skepticism and larger-than-life persona ensured that he would be remembered as the greatest escape artist of all time and the founding father of modern-day magic and illusion performers. Even after his death, Houdini's name continues to evoke mystery and wonder. Magicians like Criss Angel and David Blaine are inspired by the acts of Houdini and continue to push the envelope today. After his death, his widow Bess every year held seances on Halloween, hoping to contact her late husband. Harry Houdini's life was a blend of astonishing feats, relentless pursuit of the truth, and an enduring legacy that continues to inspire magicians and skeptics alike. His story is one of extraordinary talent, unyielding determination, and a legacy that defies the bounds of time, much like his own miraculous escapes. And that'll do it. Thank you for watching. Go ahead, like, subscribe, do the whole 9 yards, and comment with a magic show or trick that's really odd or shocked you ever in the past, and have a great day.